Well, hello, everybody. This is Katie and TC joining me today for a Record Store Day chat. We're going to have fun talking about the list and all things Record Store Day, and I am just thrilled to have TC on. He's been a wonderful commenter and chatter in my programs, and he has a great YouTube channel, which I have linked down below, so you guys can go check him out. He does some really cool TC Obscurums and some other great content on his channel. So welcome to you, TC. Thanks for joining today.
Thank you very much. I'm much appreciated, and I'm always glad to be doing something with you. I learned half of what I learned about YouTube from you, so that's always a good thing.
Oh, well, we all learn from each other in this community, and that's a great thing as well. TC's got some really great content, and I've learned so much about vinyl and other things through his channel.
I was never into the vintage community until I met you, and then I got into your shows, and it's like, wow, I can't believe the kind of stuff that is out there that my wife would go nuts if she saw it. She has gone nuts for some of your brooches.
Well, today I've got my music note brooch on because, well, yep, we are talking vinyl, so that is the perfect brooch for today's program.
Yeah, I think so too. So where do we want to start?
Well, let's say hello to a couple of folks that are joining us in the chat. Nathan is here, so a big welcome to you, Nathan. Dewan is joining us. I hope I'm saying your name, maybe Dwayne. I might have missed your name, but welcome. Glad you're here. And we've got Tim is coming in from Canada, so welcome, Tim. Mel is tuning in. Welcome, Mel. We're so glad to have you. Mel and Tim are both coming in from overseas, which is fantastic.
Oh, wow.
So we're thrilled to have different chatters in our group today, not just from the United States.
Yep.
So we'll start off by just explaining to a lot of people what Record Store Day is. Now, I know we've got some people that are into vinyl in the chat, but I know a lot of our viewership, or my viewership anyway, from the vintage community probably doesn't know much about Record Store Day. So maybe we can talk a little bit about what it is and why we like to join in on it.
Okay. Record Store Day is usually the third Saturday in April. The last couple of years, due to the ongoing issues in the world, it's actually been broken up into several drops a year. This year, they're going back to April 23rd with a backup drop in what was the date on that? June.
I think it's 18th.
Yep, June 18th. There's a few titles coming out, and that's because of pressing problems. But basically, Record Store Day has two classes of stuff. There's the Record Store Day exclusives, where there's limited availability, and then Record Store Day firsts, where they'll be out first on Record Store Day, usually with a vinyl variant of some sort, or a label or something extra, and then they'll be issued to the masses at a later date if that sale goes well. And a lot of the stuff, I mean, a lot of the collectors gather around for Record Store Day every year. And I was out of vinyl collecting for 2 decades before I got back into it a couple of years ago. And my vinyls exploded, and Record Store Day has not been a help.
No, I know that, the list comes out and you always start reading it and you think, oh, there's probably only 1 or 2 things. And then you end up with a list that's like a mile long of all the things that you have to have for Record Store Day. It's just really a fantastic day. I enjoy going and getting to meet other collectors, because that's the cool part about it, is while you're waiting in line, typically you got to get there pretty early if you want to get the stuff you want, because stuff is so limited in some cases, that you get a chance to meet other people around your city that like vinyl, that are interested in music. And it's just a great little conversation you can have while you're waiting 4 or 5 hours in line outside of a store.
Yeah, I will tell you a little secret, though. I haven't been to a store for Record Store Day. I did everything via online purchases and managed to find most of the main titles I wanted. I've only missed 1 or 2. So it is possible to do it without getting up at 2 in the morning and going out and waiting in line. But I know there are people who really enjoy that. I know you're one of them. You've always enjoyed that. And so many people do. So, whichever way you do it, you're going to have a better chance of getting things if you're in person. But you don't do too bad even if you're at home. The last year, I got everything I was looking for, so I did really well.
And that's fantastic, TC. I mean, I've been lucky the last couple of Record Store Days to get everything I wanted on my list. And I know not everyone out there has gotten everything they wanted, so it's always fun watching the videos through our vinyl community to
Yeah.
see, if people got exactly what they wanted or if there was one record that they just couldn't find. So I always find that interesting. And last year, one of the records that I wanted, I actually went to another store and they had already been open for several hours and it was just sitting in the bin. So, I mean, sometimes you can go to multiple stores and you think, oh, they're not going to have it, but maybe they do, which is kind
Yeah.
of fun.
Yeah, around here, I live in the Boston area, so there's if you're in town proper, in addition to the Newbury Comics chain, there's a number of independent stores in Somerville, Cambridge, Brookline, and so you can make a circuit if you need to after stopping at your first stop. Some people don't have that, but a lot of places, I know you have several in your area you can get to, and everybody else I know around here does pretty much. They have a circuit of 4 or 5 stores they'll check. So it's worth the time and effort if you're really looking for something to go ahead and try to find it, even if it might take you a little bit and might not be on your first stop.
And the good thing about Record Store Day is not only can you get some of the fun exclusive releases and things that are coming out specifically for Record Store Day, but a lot of the record stores in my area have a sale. So you can go record shopping after you buy your records and support them, which is fantastic. So I found some really good things in the bins, just digging around, having fun after getting my records. And that's always really nice too. So
Yeah.
it's a good day to go out and shop for music and support your local record store.
Definitely.
So TC and I talked a little bit about the exclusive releases, the RSD Day exclusive releases versus first. And it's interesting because I was noticing, TC, that there's a lot of firsts on the list this year instead of exclusives.
There's way more firsts than there usually are, because usually I don't know whether they've changed that up because they've had better luck with first when they've been doing the 3 drops the last couple of years, but it does seem like that there are way more firsts on this list than exclusives. They number about 2 to 1, and usually it's even or a little bit more on the exclusive list. So that at least will make it easier for people to find them eventually. But yeah, of course, the exclusive ones are the ones that everybody's going to be gunning for, I think.
Yeah, and I really like the exclusives because it's kind of fun to be on the hunt for a record that you're not going to be able to get later, and that you have a specific color variant, you have the first pressing of it. There's just something exciting about that, and I know I've seen videos across the vinyl community of people talking about that, how Record Store Day has changed a little bit with having things in such mass quantity. It's not as limited as it was for certain things, and the fact that the idea of getting something that's limited that now suddenly more people have a shot at, it makes the collecting aspect of it a little bit less fun. But I love the idea too of people being able to get it, to share the love of music across thousands of people around the world that love vinyl.
Right, you got to balance it between the two. For me, music is always first. Collectibles are always second. I'm looking for the music, but I don't say no to collectibles. There was quite a few I bought over the last couple of record store days that were exclusives, and I'm not going to get rid of them anytime soon. I they get listened to. It does. I do like the idea of opening it up more for the casual fan, because so many people have used Record Store Day to get people interested in vinyl. That's exactly what the original purpose of Record Store Day was, to help re-energize the vinyl sellers out there, the mom and pop record stores that were going under because of big box marts and because of online sales. And it's done a wonderful job with doing that. They just need to keep in mind that sometimes you can push a good thing too far. You want to be very careful and make sure that the people that you have brought in are getting the consideration of the exclusives, not exorbitant prices, to keep them there. And that's the most important thing.
I agree, TC. I think it does have to be a balance. And, Record Store Day, the whole experience of going into a record store and bringing people that don't normally listen to vinyl into that, I think is fantastic, because a lot of people go to Record Store Day and they get excited by being there, trying to be first, and all of the other fun things that go along with getting the vinyl that you want. And it does bring a lot of people into the hobby, which is fantastic. Now, you mentioned prices, and I find that interesting because I do feel like the prices have gone up over the years for records. In fact, the last record store day drop, my Sam Cooke and the Soul Searchers album was $55. Now, I do think it was worth it. I mean, it was a triple LP set with all
Mhm.
kinds of extra premiums, posters. I mean, you got some really cool stuff. But I just, man, some of the records are getting expensive.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at this year's list, and I mean, I tend to be very careful when it comes to expensive stuff. If I really want something, like I saved for the War box set last year, which
Oh, yeah.
retailed a little bit over $100, but it's 5 albums and they're all in great. I mean, they were remastered beautifully and they sound fantastic. But if you're gonna want one of the problems is some people have been paying a lot of money for certain titles and then found out the quality was having problems. I know I think it was Tanis Hall, something last year, which everybody was paying 30, I think 35 for, and it was off center, and they couldn't play half the time. They had to return them all. You got to watch that when you're charging as much as you are. Some of the prices this year have gone up a little bit more than I would have expected, especially on a couple of things I was interested in. I'm like, wow, that is a bit high for something like that. But I also noticed that there's quite a few in a reasonable price range, which if you talk about inflation from where vinyl was when I was collecting back in the 80s and 90s, it's really not gone up all that much for a $20 to $25 album, and it's brand new. That's probably about right where inflation would be.
And I agree with that inflation comment there, TC. I do think that it's probably right on par, but the quality is definitely something to be a little bit concerned about. And I've noticed it with a few records I've gotten through Record Store Day. Most of the time I have no issues. Everything is fantastic, but a few records I got had an audible pop and a click that was just in the background. I got one record that was warped a little bit, not enough to be a terrible issue, but I mean, it's annoying. You want a record to be in good condition, and particularly if you're picking up something that's being re-released, maybe you want the reissue copy because it's going to be clean and it's going to be nice, and you don't have to try to find a good copy of something that may be harder to find. And when you do get it, you want it to be better. And in some cases, it's not. And I do think that is something that is an issue that could be improved upon going forward with Record Store Day.
That's especially an issue this year because there are a ton of things coming out for the first time on vinyl that were originally released on CD. And if you're used to listening on the CD, you're not going to hear any of those clicks or pops. You don't have to worry about the warps usually. There can be manufacturing defects, but not like there are on vinyl from time to time. And the sound has got to be at least, right up there close to the CD. If it's not, you're going to have a bunch of disappointed people.
Yeah, especially like you said, if you're paying $30 or $40 for something, also I found that there's a lot of white noise that's very annoying in between tracks of certain records. And that's just not really cool either. And I'm no audio snob. I don't, expect vinyl to be perfect, but I do want a nice listening experience, especially when I've paid up for an album.
Yeah, especially, and also if you have audible stuff, that is, clicks and pops and stuff. A few aren't bad as long as they're not really noticeable. But when they start to get more and more audible, especially when you're wearing headphones, then it's an issue, and they need to address it.
I've also noticed a very large amount of static in some of the records when you pull them out of the sleeves. I mean, it is awful. I've used my Zero Stat gun to get rid of it, but that definitely affects sound too. And I do feel like some of the records that you're paying a little bit more for, some of those premium sleeves could be something that they might implement in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Premium sleeves in Record Store Day releases would be a big help. Some of them aren't doing that, and it does leave static. I mean, I had pulled one out last year, and it had little bits and pieces of the sleeve laying on the album because it was all staticky. I mean, there wasn't anything wrong with the album beyond that, but it can be really annoying.
I also found last year, and this is just something I thought was interesting, is a lot of the records I went after that were RSD Day exclusives, they were on standard black vinyl, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I also kind of like the idea of a cool color variant.
Mm-hmm. Color variants are very good. I haven't had any problem with the color variants that I've had. I've bought both 7-inch and 12-inch with the splatter vinyls, and I know when I was first collecting back in the, when I was way back in the day, when I was in, my teens in the 70s and 80s, I black vinyl was normal, and they didn't use colored vinyl very often. It would show up occasionally on a promotional release or maybe for a special release of some sort. I remember We're an American Band by Grand Funk. The original single release was on translucent gold vinyl, and it played fine. But a lot of people don't like picture discs because when they first started coming out in the late 70s and early 80s, the sound quality was terrible.
Yeah.
Now, although I still personally would not really consider a picture disc because I think that's a piece of art. I would rather hang that than play it. It's come up a lot where you can play a picture disc and the sound is actually not half bad.
Yeah, I think the picture disc has improved over the years. They've gotten a lot better. I have a Rocky Horror picture disc from the 70s that's very nice, but to look at as far as art, like you mentioned, TC, it sounds awful. I mean, it is like someone crinkling a paper bag through the entire thing.
Exactly. I had a copy of The Story of Star Wars that was the same way. It had the great cover from the original album, and I had gotten it as a gift, but it was better just to hang it up and look at the artwork rather than try to play it, because it sounds like there's a paper bag in the background all the time.
Yeah, it's not particularly great. But I did notice last year, and this is something I didn't look as closely as I probably should have yet at the list this year, is it seemed like there were a ton of picture discs, like a ton. And I know there are picture disc collectors and people that like the art, but I can't imagine people picking up some of those things on picture discs as a serious collector. I would hope that some of the ones they put out last year would get re-released on standard black vinyl or even a color variant.
Yeah, a lot of the vinyl community, especially the audiophiles, do not like the picture discs, even though the quality has come up completely. It's one of the reasons there is a Def Leppard picture disc on this year's list of High and Dry, the second album. And I'm an enormous Lep head for years, but I'm not interested in picking it up on a picture disc. I already have the album. I have the original vinyl. I have the CD. I don't see any point in picking it up on picture disc because I know the quality on what I have is going to be better, or likely at least equal to what's on that picture disc. And there's another one by Tangerine Dream that I'm passing on for the same reason. I just don't. I'd rather not play a picture disc. I don't think that their sound quality is still. It could still be better than it is.
I totally agree, TC, with that. And there were some that I noticed on the list last year that I passed on because they were on picture discs, and that just wasn't what I wanted in my collection. You can hear my dog Louie going crazy in the background, but she's very excited about Record Store Day. And speaking of Record Store Day, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the items that we have on our list, TC, because I think we're both pretty excited about the releases. So I'm going to share my screen here so that you guys can see the releases on the website. Now, if you're not familiar with Record Store Day, they do have a website that you can go to, and the list drops, and it's always very exciting when the list drops, so we can all see what is going to be available to buy. And I've got the list pulled up here, and we'll start off with some of TC's picks. I've got them here in order, or some of them in order, and then we can continue to find more. So I'll pull them up. So the first one here, you can tell us about your Alice in Chains pick.
This is actually an early Alice in Chains. Some of the songs ended up being on the first album. This is a 12-inch EP being offered with 3 songs. It is retailing, according to what I found, bullmoose.com at $14.99, which is a good price for a 12-inch single. It's some of their earliest stuff, and as you can see on the copy there, it was their first promotional only originally. It's not been released wide ever. And so I'm not an overwhelmingly huge Alice in Chains fan, but I like enough of their songs that I'm interested in adding this to my collection.
That is fantastic, TC. And we've got a few other picks here.
Yep. America's alternates and rarities. This has, I grew up in the 70s. America was huge back then, and this is a lot of the stuff that was alternate takes of their hits. There's even a Spanish language version of Sister Golden Hair, their #1 hit from 1975, on this collection. It is going to be released on clear vinyl and will retail at $24.99, which I think is a very decent price for a collection like this.
I do too, TC. That's an extremely good price. Now, TC found some of the prices for his records. I did not. I do need to do some more digging on that, but I'm very excited to go to Record Store Day to see what they will be, because sometimes, I've found that you get into Record Store Day, you pick a couple of your must-haves, and then you see that one that you thought, well, maybe I'll pick up, and then you end up getting it because it all worked out.
Exactly. I've done that a few times too.
So here's your next pick, TC.
Rick Astley, Wherever You Need Somebody. This was Rick's first album. This does include Never Gonna Give You Up and Together Forever. I have the CD of this, but it's coming out as a 35th anniversary on red vinyl. It is exclusive to Record Store Day, but there's only 1,800 copies, which means it's going to be, it'll probably be not terrible to find if you're lucky, but it with that low a number, it could be difficult if everybody's gunning for it.
Yes.
So yeah, when they're the safe zone for everybody getting a copy is usually when they're releasing 7,000 to 14,000 copies, and that only happens for 4 or 5 titles a year.
Yeah. So a lot of the other titles are a lot smaller in number and release quantities, and it does make it a little harder to find, but that's also some of the thrill of the hunt. Trying to get it. And I don't know if you do this because you order online, but I call around to all the record stores here and I see what they're going to get, and if at least they have my must-haves, if I know that store has, say, all the must-haves that I'm really excited to get, then that's the store I'm going to try to get to first. And then the other ones I will go to after the fact. So I did that last year, and I think I will continue with the same record store that I went to last year, Tiger Records. They've just opened up here, and I found the experience to be really spectacular. It was nice. There was a coffee shop next door, so while you're waiting, there is a bathroom, which is a big thing. Some of the other record stores are downtown in the middle of like nothing, open on a Saturday, so it's kind of nice to have some of those amenities nearby. All right, so you've got some great picks so far, TC.
Sarah Barry Ellis and Little Voice. A little story about this. I was walking through Barnes and Noble and the song Love Song came on, and I just fell in love with that song, and I went like, I've never heard this. Who is this? I want to find this. And so my wife went up and asked, well, what are you playing? It turned out to be Sarah's first album. Of course, Sarah's gone on to do all kinds of stuff, including writing a couple of Broadway shows. She did the music for Waitress and a few other things. This is the first album. It is coming out as a 15th anniversary release at $24.99, which is pretty reasonable, and 2,850 copies there, as you saw as you panned by it, and it is an exclusive. So if you're going to get it now, Record Store Day, don't wait for another day or two. You'll need to grab it down on Record Store Day itself, because it's an excellent album, and one of my favorite albums of that era, actually.
I absolutely love the musical Waitress. I was fortunate enough to see it here, and yeah, she's an excellent singer-songwriter. I see we've got some questions here in the chat. Tim is asking if Louie's favorite group is Three Dog Night. Yeah, I think so, Tim. I think that's a good band for her. And then Mel is asking, Mel's coming in from Finland, when Record Store Day events first started. I actually don't know the official date that it started. Do you, TC?
I believe it. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the. Let me just pop over here real quick and see what I can find out about us. Record Store Day launched in 2007, so it is the 15th anniversary.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, I think the 15th anniversary of Record Store Day also correlates with that Sun release that they're coming out with, which I'll talk about because that's on my list.
Yes, I know that the Sun releases are always on your list. You love those.
I do. They're just fantastic. Okay, so we'll go with a few more of TC's picks. This was also one of the releases I was interested in. This Ray Charles.
Ray Charles, Genius Loves Company. This is an all duets album. It was his final album before his passing. I've heard this. We had this when I was working for the Coconuts music chain years ago, and played this thing to death. It is such a great album. As you can see, the songs that they're on there doing and who he got to perform with. Terrific stuff. It is running $34.99 and it will be on gold vinyl. So that'll be terrific. And definitely, I believe it's an exclusive also. No, it's actually a first. So the gold vinyl will probably be only available on Record Store Day.
And it seems like so far all the ones that we've picked out are going to be dropped on April 23rd, not that later June release.
Yeah, I actually only had one thing that I was mildly interested in on the June one. So I'm... I mean, they'll probably add to it. They usually do add titles after they've released the first list. So there'll be more, I'm sure, as we go along. Collective Soul's Discipline Breakdown. This was their second album. And this is, I believe, another one that's coming out for an anniversary of theirs. 5,000, it is an RSD first. And it was a critically acclaimed album as well. It is going to be, it's one of the least price albums this year at $22.99 and will be released on translucent red vinyl. And
cool.
Again, it's an RSD first, so they'll be able to get it later. And of course, Craft Recordings. I've complained recently about their mail order service, and I'm not the only one. I was actually speaking with somebody else about it, but their quality is top notch. Everything Craft Recordings has put out that I've purchased has been just excellent. So I definitely trust them on this. Yeah, 25th anniversary. I'm reading on the notes there. So it's been a while since this came out. It makes me feel old again. Oh, geez.
Well, it's a great album, and I'm very excited to get a chance to see what other collectors think about this if they do get it for Record Store Day. And like I said, anything Craft Recordings, or like you said, TC, is phenomenal. I've had several Craft Recordings things. The quality it's just exceptional.
Absolutely top-notch quality. Sound quality is good. The vinyl quality is good. They always package them well. There's nothing bad about them except their mail order government, which I've had all kinds of trouble with.
There's always something, there's always one thing, a lot of good things, and then there's always one or two bad things that have to get worked out. And that's always the case. So we've got an Alice Cooper pick for you.
Yeah, this is actually a pick because my wife is a huge Alice Cooper fan, and I know she would love this. This is a release of Brutal Planet. This is one of the higher end albums coming out. It is an RSD first, 5,000 copies, 2 albums played at 45 RPM, which is why it's 2 albums, and it is double 180G. And they'll have a download card with it and everything else. It retails for $39.98, which, because of the 45 RPM, means it's going to be, the sound quality could be better. A lot of the box sets that have come out over the years of older albums that have, sped up the playing and take up less space on the album itself have always done really well with the collectors and with the audiophiles. And I have a feeling this will be no exception.
I think so too, TC. I've heard lots of things about that. And I think there was a couple of releases that did it last year and people said that it was phenomenal. So that should be definitely a great pickup. And probably not terrible to find at 5,000 copies, but, we'll see.
Yeah, I think it'll be one of the easier titles to grab.
So those are some of TC's picks. I know he's got more, so we will revisit that here in just a second, TC. But I'll share some of my picks now. One of the first records I was pretty excited about is this Everly Brothers, Hey Baby Doll. Now, this is, and all of the ones actually I've picked are RSD Day exclusives. I don't know how that happened. It just did. This is limited to 4,500 copies. Now, I still think that this one's going to be a little harder to find with the recent passing of Don. And I think that people are remembering that Everly Brothers, and they probably are going to want this release. This is the final project that Don worked on before he died. And I think it's going to be a really excellent record. It's some of their lesser known tracks and obscurities. And I think this will be a really fantastic record. It's coming out on baby blue vinyl, which is just cool. I mean, I'm a sucker for color vinyl for some reason. I don't know why. And I'm very excited about this. So this will drop on the 23rd drop. And it's got some great treasures on here. So very much looking forward to that release. And I've also got another record that's probably no surprise to all of you, but here comes Fats Domino. Now, this is on Real Records, and there's 1,500 copies of this coming out, RSD Day exclusive. And this was originally released in 1963. It was reissued in 1975. I have not checked to see how easy this record is to get. What I find kind of interesting about this is the first Fats Domino record that's kind of strayed away from the Imperial label, which if you know Fats, he did a lot on the Imperial label. And some of his earlier stuff can be hard to find. And then, Fats Domino is just so incredibly important in rock and roll history that all of his albums are fantastic. So I'm really looking forward to this. I think this has Yes When I'm Walking on it, which I'm really looking forward to. Is Red Sails in the Sun? Yeah, Red Sails on the Sunset is on here. Just a Lonely Man. Lots of really good tracks. So I'm excited about this. It's going to be on Violet vinyl. So this is a very good album. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, the hand numbering on that's going to be nice too. It's going to only have 1,500 copies. So that's definitely, if you want that, everybody, this is one you need to wait in line for, because it probably won't be available if you're not right there.
And I want to talk a little bit about the hand numbering on this particular release, because a lot of the records that I've been picking up for the last couple of drops and record store days have not had that hand numbering. And I don't know exactly why, because a lot of the exclusives prior to the last couple of years have been doing that, and it's not really a big deal, but I think it's kind of a neat collector aspect to have that hand numbering. One of the Chuck Berry live albums I got a few years ago had it. It just tells you how many copies out of so many that you got, what particular copy you got, and I quite like that. So I think that will be kind of neat, and I'm glad that they listed this on this particular release.
Yeah, I think it unfortunately is going by the wayside simply because they don't have the time or the effort to do it anymore. They didn't do it to very many albums last year at all. Just I think one or two that I got had it on it, and I do agree that was one of the aspects that made it so collectible, was knowing you had X copy of this many. That's part of the fun.
Yep, I totally agree. So I hope they get back to that. And I'm glad this record is going to have it. And I do hope I can get it. Definitely something that I will be first in line. I'll try to be first in line to get that record. Let's see. Okay, the Sun record release. Now, I talk about this every year because every record store day, Sun curated volume record that they've done has been absolutely phenomenal. It always sounds good. It is always a great curation of songs and things that, are a little bit harder to find on vinyl sometimes. And I just highly recommend it. It's never very expensive. I think they're always around like $23 or so. So it's a great pickup. This year, they're doing it in honor of Sam Phillips, who obviously founded Sun. And I think celebrating, Record Store Days. Yes, 15th anniversary of Record Store Day and Sun's 70th anniversary. So I'm very excited about this. It's limited to 4,000 copies, and this is an RSD Day exclusive. Now, what I found about these in my area is there's only one record store that usually gets them, or they only get one. So this is one that I have had trouble finding in the past. I do think with the 4,000 copies, you should be able to get it, but again, had some trouble here. The last couple of years I picked this up.
I noticed an anomaly. It says 3,000 above and 4,000 in the copy. I wonder which one it really is.
Oh, that is interesting. And yeah, the numbers are...
Somebody wasn't paying attention.
No, they weren't. Yeah, 4,000 copies worldwide. So I don't know if the 3,000 is limited to just U.S.
Could be. It's hard to tell.
it's hard to say, and sometimes these numbers aren't exactly on the nose.
No, they're not.
No, but I mean, look at some of the tracks on this. Carl Perkins, fantastic.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to be my baby. We Want a Boogie. Johnny Cash is on here. You've got Roscoe Gordon with Booted. The list is incredible, and these are always just a great little compilation album to pick up. I've got 4 of them now. I wish I had some of the other ones they've released in the past, so I highly recommend picking this up because it's just a good record, and this is the 9th volume of this. These usually come on standard black vinyl. Now, I think, TC, we both are really interested in the Elton John. This is high on my list. What's cool about this particular Elton John record, and this is, let's see, do I have it? This is an RSD day first, so there is probably another opportunity to pick this up later. But, you know, as collectors know, we all want the first pressing, if possible, of a record. This has 7,000 copies being released, so it should be a little bit easier to find. It's one of the bigger releases coming out in quantity. What's kind of cool about this is the Tom Bell session. So when this was recorded, it kind of strayed away from some of the stuff that Elton had done previously. And I think that this is such a cool record because when it was released, there was only about 3 songs, I think, that actually did get released in 1979. This is going to be very exciting because now all of it's finally being released on vinyl, which is wonderful. And Tom Bell, just amazing R&B singer, songwriter, and producer. And he did a lot of stuff, I believe, with Stylistics and let's see. Oh yeah, the Spinners. The Spinners, love the Spinners.
Yeah. He was best known for the R&B stuff in the mid 70s from different working a lot with acts that were on Avco and Motown and Atlantic. But yeah, that's one of the reasons I think that this album, when it was really, or this EP when it was released, now it's 6. Now there was only 3 on the original. This was the first thing Elton released after his so-called retirement for 18 months. And before that, he'd started to bomb out with songs like Ego, and then he came back with Mama Can't Buy You Love, streaks straight back to the top 10. So it was a good break and a good pairing for him.
Yep, I think so. And this is going to be very exciting. It's coming out on purple vinyl, 180 gram. And any of the Elton John stuff I've picked up in the past has been excellent on EMI. I've not had any issues with it as far as quality goes. And a lot of purple vinyl being released in the past for Elton as well. And I just think this will be a great pickup. Still, I think it's going to be popular. So this might not be as easy in my area to find. But 7,000, hopefully.
7,000 is a good round number. You hopefully won't be too bad to find.
Yeah, I hope not. And then there was another record here that I believe TC and I both are very interested in, or at least have on the maybe if we have some extra cash list. And that's the Jackson 5. Now, I will say the original pressings of this album are fairly easy to get. They're a little bit more expensive than probably what this is going to cost you at Record Store Day from what I've been seeing online. I don't have this album at all in my collection. It's just something I would love to have. And, you know, if I could get a good clean copy of it as a reissue, I'm good with that. So this might be a good pickup. This is a Record Store Day exclusive. It's coming out on the Anagram label. There's 6,500 copies of this, give or take. And I think this will be really interesting to try to pick up. And it shouldn't be too terrible with that 6,500.
I would agree. I think that also, though, it is going to be because of who it is.
Yes.
It is going to be a highly in-demand album. Because everybody has loved the Jackson 5 and a lot of times prefer, you know, people my age grew up with them. So anything that comes out, they go immediately grab. And this one could be that way. So that 6,500 may not last very long. We'll see. It might not at all. But yeah, it's a top-notch pick for Record Store Day. And last time I looked, this is the one album that I got a completely divergent price on from 2 different sites where I usually check prices, which is bullmoose.com. They're pretty pretty reliable. They have it listed at $25.99, but another site out there, who shall remain nameless, has it listed at $36.99. So I'm not sure which one is correct. I would hope it would be the $25.99 because that would make more sense for a re-release like this.
I agree. So we'll have to see what the price actually is on Record Store Day. This is coming out on blue vinyl, 180 gram. I like that a lot of the records I've picked are actually Record Store Day exclusives. I think that's kind of fun. And this will be a really great album to try to get. I do think, like TC said, like the Elton and some of those bigger names that people know and they are very interested in, it is going to be maybe a little bit tougher to find. So this one you definitely want to be picking up on Record Store Day if you can get it. And, you know, anything Jackson 5, but come on, ABC, excellent album.
Yeah, it is.
So those
I was just going to say I throw in because I didn't have it up there and didn't mention it, but the Elton John is retailing at $29.99.
Oh, thank you, TC. So yeah, TC had found some of the prices in advance for that. So those are my top picks for Record Store Day. We'll see what I get. I am going to try to go even earlier. Last year I went to Tiger Records. I got there at 7. And there was already 3 people in line. One gentleman had camped out in his car all night in front of the store, which is very common to do for Record Store Day. Yeah. I will never do that. I like my warm bed. But I will try to go maybe at 6 a.m. this time. I think it's a more popular drop per se, or a day. So I might need to get there a little bit earlier to try to be first. But I have found in our area, and I think you kind of get to know some of the music tastes of your area and the people that tend to shop. I have found that some of the 50s releases that come out, early rock and roll stuff, aren't as popular as some of the 70s rock stuff here. So sometimes I've been in luck. I've also found that there's a big collector of pop records here. So the 2 people that were waiting in line last year, they were really interested in like the Taylor Swift and some of the other stuff, which was nice because I didn't have to worry. I knew when I walked through that door, I was getting exactly what I wanted. And I knew that the store had it. So it's kind of fun to chat with people and see, you know, what they're picking up, and gives you a little peace if you're like third in line, like, okay, I think I'm going to get what I want.
I think just speaking for a minute about Taylor Swift, I'm not the biggest Taylor Swift fan on the planet, but she is this year's Record Store Day ambassador. And I think she kind of blew off the fans, actually, because all they're releasing is a single by her. I thought that was I'm like, I thought, you know, she'd release one of Taylor's versions of her old albums or something. And I was really shocked to see she didn't do more, because she did so much for the mom and pop vinyl community in the year that we're having the first part of the problems. She was helping pay payroll for some of these places. She was doing a lot for them. And then to come along and become Record Store Day ambassador, and then just to drop a 7-inch, I'm like, really? That seems a bit, I was really surprised by that. I thought we'd get a lot more out of that.
And that 7-inch that she's releasing, I mean, it was already a bonus track on the album that she already released anyway. So it's nothing special. So I thought that was a little disappointing.
At least with Brandi Carlile a couple of years ago, we got some original stuff, her covers of Alice in Chains stuff. And it was a EP, but it was still fantastic.
Yeah, I agree, TC. I found that really interesting. And also, can we talk about the Peppa Pig release for a second? What is with that? I mean, there's nothing wrong with picking up a record for your kids, but I don't feel like Record Store Day is really geared toward the family children market per se. I
was watching one of the other channels talking about the same issue, and they were surmising that it might be a ploy to have parents get their kids involved with vinyl too. I don't know if that's because you're paying $25 and kids on a little tiny Crosley are going to scratch it up. I know I did when I was a kid. My records were scratched all the time. So, I mean, that seems like really kind of a crazy way to do it. But I mean, every year there's a title that just steps out and says, why is this coming out on Record Store Day? Last year, I actually was absolutely shocked to see them re-release Sean Cassidy's last album, Lost.
Yes.
And I know it was produced by Todd Rundgren, but I'll be honest, I'm a pop music fan. You know that. Everybody who knows me knows that. I love Sean Cassidy. That album is less than listenable. And it sat in most of the stores that ordered it. It did. I mean, they're still stuck with copies. So I'm really wondering where they come up with what is going to, what kind of demand, because I know I've heard that they listen to record stores and record fans as to what consider. It surprises me that the Rundgren fans would demand that and then not pick it up.
Yeah, I thought that was very interesting. I also noticed with Aerosmith's album, The Road Starts Here, I did pick that up for a friend that wasn't able to get it at my record store. And they also released a tape cassette. And I thought, there is a big market for people getting back into tape cassettes, but for the majority of the vinyl community, I would feel like that would be something that no one really wants to spend $19 on when they could get the album.
Yeah, some people are into cassettes. So my wife loves cassettes. I mean, most of her collection was on cassette. She has CDs now, and I'm actually getting her slowly back into vinyl. I bought her that Aerosmith release for Christmas. Yeah, I mean, it does seem strange that people are releasing stuff on cassettes, but now, of course, everything old is new again. I guess cassettes are making a big comeback, and so we might see more of them on Record Store Day in the year's future. There's not too many of them in the past, though, so far.
No, there hasn't been, but I just found that to be interesting.
Yep.
So it's kind of fun looking down the list and seeing what's there. So TC, as we are getting ready to hit our hour mark, is there a few more on your list you want to share?
Well, actually, I want to bring up two in particular because of the price points. I feel that both of them are really whacked when it comes to to what they're asking for. The Sheena Easton collection, the definitive 12-inch, that is on page 3. It's a collection of Sheena's 12-inchers. Oh, maybe I guess it's on page 2 on the website, and it looks too far back. Yeah,
the website and the PDF are a little bit different, guys.
Yeah, I've got a PDF. That's the problem. But the Sheena Easton is a collection of the 12-inch singles that came out in the 80s and early 90s, bridging from Telephone, Long Distance Love Affair through Eternity. It also has a couple of unreleased songs on it. I'm a huge Sheena Easton fan. I have most of these on 45 or 12-inch single. And I definitely want to get this, but my jaw dropped. It's a 2-record set. There's only, if you scroll down the page, I think there's only 12 or 14 songs on both discs. And they're asking $45.99 for this. And I'm like, for a Sheena Easton collection? I mean, I understand it's a double disc, but wow.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah. The other one that kind of surprised me at its price point, although again it is a double disc and it comes with a ton of extras, is Tiny Tim and Brave Combo. On the PDF, it was on page 8, called Girl. It was the last album Tiny Tim recorded, and he recorded it with the folk group Brave Combo. And it has a ton of extras with it. It is 2 discs. It is colored vinyl, translucent pink, I believe. But again, $44.98. And I'm like, Tiny Tim has a lot of fans, but I don't know if he can support that many. I think there's 1,200 copies. There's not very many. So I'm just hoping that they haven't overpriced themselves with that.
And that is something that it's interesting to look at, the pricing for what you're getting. You know, I totally understand some of the more expensive records when it comes to box sets, when you're getting, maybe 4 or 5 LPs in a set, or you're getting, like I mentioned with the Sam Cooke that I picked up, you're getting a bunch of ephemera inside of it, some cool concert posters, you're getting 3 records, you're getting premium packaging, or some really cool variant or something with it. I totally see the uptick in price, but when it's just a standard black 12-inch record, I don't know. I find that that's a little expensive.
Yeah, that was my problem with the Ocean's 11 soundtrack last year. I love lounge music, and that's basically what that was. But it was simple black vinyl. It was 180 gram, but it was simple black vinyl, and they wanted 41 for a single disc. I'm like, no, I'll pass on that. I can probably find a crappy copy for under $10 somewhere.
Mhm.
So it does happen every now and then. You got to be. I think that sometimes they're really expecting to sell more at a higher price, hoping to do better with it. And I don't know, of all the people I deal with in the vinyl community, I was the only one that was interested in it. So I don't know that I know of. So I don't know how it sold at all, you know?
Yeah, I don't either. I didn't see many people talking about that in the VC, and it's kind of fun, as I mentioned, guys. Follow everyone within the vintage vinyl community because they all post different videos on Record Store Day, their experiences shopping at Record Store Day, what they picked up, or like we're doing here, going over the list. So
Yeah.
it's always fun to see what everyone's picking up, what they're interested in, because there's such a diverse taste within the vinyl community. And I saw Blake was in the chat earlier. That's Jamie's husband, Mid-Century Wasted. He's really into jazz. And if you're a jazz fan, there's quite a few jazz releases coming out for Record Store Day, which I think people are going to be really interested in.
Record Store Day is always great for jazz fans. Everybody is looking for, when they had, like last year, they had a Miles Davis one come out. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that was one of the ones that had one of the problems. They had to do a bunch of replacements for it, but I might be wrong about that. There were quite a few different jazz acts over the last few years that have gotten, have been the find title. I'm not into that kind of stuff, so I don't really follow that much, but I know the record companies have figured out that jazz fans come out in droves on Record Store Day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I saw the people talking about the Mingus release. There's some Chet Baker. I saw, let's see, Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers. So there's quite a few on this list.
The Art Blakey is one that's gotten 2 or 3 people have mentioned a lot, and he's going to be a popular one for most of the jazz lovers out there.
Well, that is quite the exciting list, I think. There's something for everybody this year on the list. And TC, I know, has a lot more picks that he's interested in. So maybe we can come back and do a part 2 and hang out and chat.
Well, that'd be fun.
So is there any other titles that you have to show while we're here?
No, I don't think so. I think that everybody has their own interesting taste. Mine run from the Mike Oldfield Tubular Bells reissue to the reissue of the Rubinoos debut album, which I already have, but it's on yellow vinyl as a tribute to Berserkly, their original label. There's something special out there for everybody. They just got to find the right thing for them. Yep. That's what makes Record Store Day so fun.
It does. There's something for everybody. There's a lot of cool releases. And to me, it's all about the music, connecting with other vinyl lovers within the community and supporting your local record stores. So it is going to be a lot of fun to turn out for Record Store Day. I'll be doing stuff. I think, TC, you'll probably have some videos coming out for Record Store Day.
Oh, yeah. I'll have my whole list up over the weekend.
Fantastic. So TC will probably have more on his channel. So make sure that you guys check into that. I have linked him down below in the description box. TC is fantastic. I think we covered quite a bit today. There's always more to talk about with music. You can go on for hours, right?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, TC, I appreciate you joining me and suggesting this stream. It was wonderful. I had so much fun.
I knew we would have fun together talking about this stuff because I know we both love Record Store Day.
We do. I really do. There's just, when I discovered it a few years ago, I felt like I was a little late to the party. But when I discovered it, I just had so much fun being a part of it and getting to go. And there's just something kind of magical about it.
Yeah. That's a good way. That's a way to put it. It brings a special feeling when you're finding something cool and it's it's a limited release.
Yeah, and it's like Christmas morning for everyone in the vinyl community. When you come home with your bag of records. In fact, our local record store, they're a master at marketing because they do all kinds of special things. And for Record Store Day, they have their own cloth bags, and they come up with a different design every year. And if you are one of the first couple of people in line, you get a bag. And I got a bag last year, a record bag, and I don't know, it's something that's so kind of silly seeming, like, oh, you get a bag, but it's just kind of cool, that people in record stores are doing stuff like that.
For you, that would be perfect ephemera.
Yep. Exactly. Perfect ephemera, and cool stuff.
Well, I don't know if you noticed, Katie, but I do have your vintage and vinyl shirt on.
Oh, I didn't notice that. Fantastic.
Because I happen to be a big fan of Katie's, and if you see this and see me on here and you haven't been a regular viewer of Katie's, please go over there and check it out because she's terrific. All of her stuff is great.
Well, thank you, TC. I truly appreciate that. And yes, as TC just showed, I do have merch. I haven't promoted it in a while, but if you're interested in getting a t-shirt, that link is also down below in the description box. Louie's very excited about that. And thank you, Marie. We've got a lot of really great commenters in the chat here that have had fun commenting about music and chatting amongst themselves. So thank you guys so much for joining us today. TC and I will be back with more streams in the future, I'm sure. And happy Record Store Day list drop to all of you guys out there. Let me know in the comments what you guys are going to pick up for Record Store Day, what you want. And we'll see you around the tube.
Sounds
bye, guys.
Good. Bye, everybody.